The elevator door opens up. Floor 16. There were no words to describe what had happened on this day. It was V's floor, presumably like any other. With only 5 other machines in Twisted territory, Glisten had to do like a secret agent man and slip by unnoticed. Twisted brushed us an annoying encounter, but not the worst thing ever, especially on this floor. 2 machines are clear of enemies. It was time to stick the V-mote. But that's when it hit. The ambience, whether having to do with bug light or not, felt off. Different. While Glisten was trying to relax and refocus, he decided to also watch a bit of V's show on the monitor above him. Oh, how he wanted to have a show of his own. It'd be a match made in heaven for Glisten, if only he knew where to start. In no time, the machine went green. It was time to search elsewhere. More treadmills? The mirror thought to himself. Ugh, whose idea was it anyway? They ought to get their head checked. If this thing causes Glisten the mirror to break a sweat, the other tunes would suffer horribly trying to extract from it. As he was getting his steps in, Glisten pulled out a smoke bomb he'd just attained a few floors ago. Wouldn't it make a great fog effect for the intro to Glisten's own show? Imagine the dramatic purple gas exploding onto the scene, and the one and only emerging from the mist as if he were magic. Before he could think another thought, another brilliant idea for a show, the light turned green. Perhaps after this, he would return to the others and treat them with this newfound innovation. But work cannot be left unfinished. It was time to continue the search. One of the arcade rooms lay vacant, and the sickly version of Brusha was headed for the stage in that direction. Glisten gracefully heeded the Twisted's will and wrapped around the other way. He cut through the south arcade and headed to the west arcade. His intuition said that a machine must be hiding there. Lo and behold, as if he knew all along, there it was. Glisten on point today, he thought to himself. This one had a wheel, thank goodness, so now the world would know just how good Glisten is at this extraction stuff. However, something caught the mirror's eye. An arcade game about Shrimpo of all tunes. He had to stop and double-check if it wasn't a trick of the light. Surely they did not create this because of the nasty shrimp's tendencies. It was something about that felt off again. Glisten doesn't remember this being here. Perhaps this was just in his head, and so he brushed it off, pushed it aside, and returned to the wheel. Even with the distraction of something so misplaced, Glisten was convinced he had broken some kind of record for extracting a machine. Perfect, he blurted out loud. Absolutely perfect. The perfect run, as it were, for he doesn't remember receiving any scratch from any Twisted. They shambled with no direction, while Glisten, he had points to prove. Perhaps that was why. Or he's just too good at these runs. Exiting the West Arcade and moving to the stage, Glisten remembers perfectly where the last 2 machines are. Unfortunately, that same shrimp doused in that sticky, icky ichor just cut across the stage. Glisten had to backtrack for a bit, no big whoop. Then Tisha showed up, duster in hand and eager to taint the delicate mirror. Bumping into some boxes, Glisten eventually confused the tissue box and got her to clean again. This machine should be easy, and after ducking behind the stands when company came by, ignoring that wire, he doesn't need help with machines, Glisten finally returned to the lounge and capped off this floor. He thought about his return speech when V and the others would finally see him again, like a celebrity visiting their hometown. Everyone kind of played their part, and this would make a good practice for flawless public speaking. That thought was interrupted by the sound of ichor splashing all over the place. Has someone spilled their stash? When the elevator door opened again, the green overwhelmed the mirror's senses. Deja vu. He had just been here. The machine in the corner was no longer there. It was a bit concerning, to say the least. Did the elevator even move at all? Bewildered and hoping this wasn't some kind of dream Astra had misplaced, Glisten explored for a bit. Now there were different Twisteds? It was hard to process this feeling. What happened? Twisted Yada was over there. Ichor puddles were everywhere. And that's when he heard it. A squeal, almost, coming from the backstage. It made his blood run cold. He feels like he shouldn't be here. There was a band sitting by an ichor puddle. This was real, right? He pulled out his smoke bomb. Yes, this was real. Before he could set foot in the West Arcade, Twisted Cosmo came charging in. Ducking behind the metal grates, he heard that noise again. Glisten felt it was dangerous and quickly got away from the source as fast as he could. If there was any moment Glisten wished he had brought company, it was then. There were a few machines in his sights, so gathering his bearings, he did what he normally do, plugging the remote into one and finishing the others. Glisten shook his head and plastered back his famous smile. It's just another floor, another easy expedition. There was no need to worry. Even the Twisteds are the same and as predictable as ever. Flutter and Yada are fast, but they're no match for the mirror. Still, best stay out of sight. After finishing a machine and entering the West Arcade, so rudely interrupted earlier, Glisten heard that krilling noise again. It was hard to describe. He blames it on the disgusting ichor he was now trailing. Annoyed, he decided to completely ignore any more weird noises. There was no rush, and you can't rush perfection. Glisten tried to double-check the stage, only to be met by that cinnamon bun again. The mirror ran to the same hiding spot earlier, as it fooled the dessert before. But when he got there, he froze. Something dived in from above, and this gross, bug-like creature latched onto him. Glisten felt a wave of terror overwhelm his senses as he desperately tried to get it off. He screamed. Too bad he didn't bring any friends. It managed to get a hit in. The pain was sharp, like a knife plunging into him. It felt like it was trying to rip his head right off his shoulders. Glisten couldn't think straight anymore after half-assing the bandage on. Panic took over, and as it turns out, screaming was the last thing he should have done. He could do nothing but run for his life. But before he knew it, the running got him into more trouble. He was exhausted, and begrudgingly he threw down the smoke bomb to lose his foes. Paranoia remained, and Glisten could only look up at the ceiling for that Twisted. Not knowing Twisted Flutter was nearby, and even while being chased, he couldn't stop looking up for this atrocious thing. Glisten felt sick. He was exhausted and terrified. He wanted to go back to his room and pretend this was just some nightmare. The Twisteds would return to catch him again, and that noise would return too. He ran back to Exhibit B to lose his pursuer, but that fat Twisted came back and held him in place. A Flutter attacked viciously while Glisten helplessly screamed. History was going to keep repeating until the poor mirror was dead, lost to this place's mystery. He tried to fix the wound on his back and kept running. No way, he thought. No way was the one and only Glisten dying to these plebs. That noise again. Just stay away from the noise. Glisten, determined not to meet a grim end, salvaged what he could. That bandage from earlier, snatched that. Cosmo, as per usual, turned the corner and found him. So did Flutter. And Yada. Still unable to catch his breath, Glisten whipped back around and let Yada get a free swipe in, just so he could get away. He stayed in the lounge until all would clear up for him. He needed a bit of a power nap before getting out of there. The mirror bravely ignored the negativity clouding his senses by being himself. Beauty sleep can happen at any time, he whispered to an imaginary audience. Now the jokes are on them, because I, Glisten the Mirror, am ready for anything and everything. He stuck the last band on his torso, where Yada had struck him. It was still painful, but not enough to warrant severe attention. It was time. The krilling noise. So, he's by the backstage, huh? Looking out from the stage, Glisten decides that now was the perfect opportunity to score on these last two machines. He can wait. He's a patient boy. Not. The mindless shambling tested his temper. If only they just moved elsewhere. Finally, a chance. Nope. It was about the billionth time Twisted had met the mirror around a corner. Not this time, Flutter, he spoke softly to himself, leading the butterfly back to the stage. Glisten managed to shake her off unscathed, while the gluttonous worm watched from above. Watch and learn, you, he declared to it, dashing for the machine stage right and completing it without issue. After this, he moved to the East Arcade, and Glisten almost dreaded the last machine. No matter what, he would be unsafe in that area. Pouncing on the opportunity, he scrolled through the arcade. Glisten cared very little about the ichor puddles now. But Squirm had interrupted his flow and cut him off by Exhibit B. The mirror's enemies would search for him relentlessly. And after letting the Twisteds pass by, he took one more big risk. Listening out, looking left and right, Glisten could only hope that nobody would reach him, that they didn't come at him all at once. In the meantime, he was careful not to overdo the machine. The alarm it triggers could mean the end. Twisted Cosmo marched by, and the mirror tried his best to stay quiet. The elevator door had opened, and Glisten tensed up dramatically. He was too frightened to rush. What if they heard him? What if that bug found him? Twisted, Flutter, and Cosmo kept looking around the stage, and while their attention was elsewhere, he managed to slip by to the lounge, unnoticed, undetected. He saw the ugly light of the elevator and ran inside. What to tell the others? That was his only thought.